So I welcome you to Starfield Mods, where we cover the best mods. And today we're going to be looking at the best mod for 2023. Hands down, unless I'm mistaken, I don't really know of such a complex, crazy, in-depth mod that's going to soak up gameplay time, complete it. Because if you like shipbuilding, or you haven't really done much shipbuilding, but you want to learn and get into it, this mod covers it all. What if I told you you could build the craziest ship, whatever heart content, following a few parameters set by someone else, and then you'd wave goodbye to that ship, only to then find it in space in a random encounter where you might be able to do some trading, you can board it, steal it, and if you did steal it, all you'd have to pay for is the registration costs and not even to build it. So in theory, now you can build ships in Starfield and then encounter them in the universe, which is wild, especially if you slap on a few crazy mods. You could see the craziest, wildest, almost Class M ships to a degree floating around the universe. So this mod is just in its infancy, but it has so much potential. Now, I've spent a bit of time testing it and there's so much involved with this, but we're just going to break it down to give you an idea to get you started, what it is, how it all works together, because there's quite a few moving components and it's a little bit of a learning curve just at the start, and there's been some of you might be having problems, and at the end we're going to go try resolve some of those issues you might have installing and playing with this mod. Okay, so at a high level, what is Astroneering? Well, it's a mod created by codegangsta, aka Jeremy, a legend who created his very own little introductory YouTube video on this. Intro is insane. I'd highly recommend watching it. Doesn't really go into some of the details that you might want to find out after playing this mod, but that's what we're going to cover here, or at least try to address some of these things. So what is Astroneering? In a high level, Astroneering is kind of like a side quest that repeats, but the quest is building ships. To get these quests, you'd go to your mission board, which I believe the mod actually adds to right here, or I'm just blind and I never noticed, but you'd just go up to the mission board and you'd have a new available mission called Atlas. Atlas is the company that you're going to be building ships for, and as you can see over to the left, it'll have some specifications that we need to meet in order to complete this mission. We even get rewards, but we'll come to that soon. So let's just say we select this mission, and then we've accepted it. All we need to walk over here is to this fully voiced, amazingly done NPC. So let's talk to Aria Collins.
Aha! The master shipwright returns.
Amazing, right? I don't know if he's used AI to create this character's voice or what, but it's done amazingly. It fits in so well with the game. You're going to be very, very content with this. Okay, so we've got a contract. So we're going to say I'm here to do some work, and it's going to list all the things we need to do within this build. And so we'll have the option. We need to go into shipbuilder. So we're going to work on the ship. And then it's really important that you scroll to the left. And this is the Celestial Cyclone as mentioned here on the left. So this is the ship we know we want to work on, and it's the only ship we will be able to work on within our list of ships. So you can see it will update the various things that it has and need. One thing to note quickly here though is without the creation kit, it's impossible to keep the required list of things to include displayed the whole time in the shipbuilder. So you probably will need to take a screenshot or use snippet, take a snapshot of what you need to do in this mission, click it over to the right hand side of the screen, and then you can always have access to what you're doing. Sure, once we get the creation kit, that will be resolved. So basically you're building a ship however you want, but it will need to include all those things that are mentioned in that list. And then after that, once you're happy with the design and you've got everything that meets the requirements, you can exit the shipbuilding process, and you'll see on the left hand side here that it's going to update with all the criteria that you've met, and you can see it goes through one by one, and we can check it all off going, okay, sweet, we know we've covered it, and it'll actually then tell you that you need to speak to Aria again. So to speak to Aria again from the shipbuilder, we just need to exit talking to Aria and then enter into conversation with Aria again, which will reset her dialogue options, and then we can go finish with this ship. And then since we've met all the specifications, we're going to get some salvage, which we'll come to, and we'll get some credits, and then we'll watch the ship take off in all its glory, and it's going to go into the universe. And that would be what would be considered completing one quest, and you're going to be able to encounter this ship, and that might be just a civilian ship from the various factions that you could trade with, or in some cases it even spawns in as an enemy ship, whether it be a crimson or other enemy factions, which you can then be attacked by, and then you can attack and board. And you can board it in any situation. You just have to do the normal combat kind of routine. Now, it's important to understand that Astroneering will have 5 different kind of quest types. So you'll have a quest to build an explorer ship, fighter, a hauler, interceptor, or luxury categories ship. And not only that, it even has things to unlock to give us access to more parts, because it's important to note when you do start off, you only have access to a limited amount of parts. So that will be determined, and when you first start off, you won't really have many different type of hubs from the different brands. You'll have limited of things to work with to build. And this is where salvage comes in, which as you collect salvage, you can then go and research parts for Galactic, Hope Tech, Strateclan, and so forth to then gain access to the different hubs from those different brands, which means you could freely use all the various different different habitations in your builds, but you do have to earn the salvage to do it, and you will be earning salvage from completing these. So that will actually give you incentive to want to build these ships, not only so you can see them and find them out in the yonder of the universe, but also because you can slowly gain access to better and more parts. The other thing that will limit what parts you have access to is potentially Aria herself and the type of mission that you're getting, but for the most part it's to do with what you can unlock and what you have unlocked. So let's take a look at the different research things, because not only can you use salvage to get access to more parts, you can also use salvage to research basically skill attributes that will increase your repair rate, your grav jump range, and a few other things like that. But what I want to make super clear is that there are different types of salvage. So when you get a mission to complete a fighter ship, after completing that, you'll be rewarded with cash, and you'll get anywhere from say like 3 to 8 fighter salvage. And then you'd use that fighter salvage to get specific research items complete within your research laboratory. So in this case, we wanted to unlock the Deimos parts. That's linked to the fighter category. So we'll be able to use salvage that we get from completing fighter type ships to then unlock getting the extra habs and other bits and pieces to Deimos. So another example would be completing luxury liners will give you salvage to unlock Strata Eklund. And then that will and each of these also have a corresponding kind of like a perk you can upgrade. So for instance, haulers will have cargo capacity. When you get hauler builds, you'll complete them, you'll get hauler salvage, and then you'll be able to upgrade your cargo capacity. Now, where I get a bit confused on this is I've been trying to test to see what these perks actually do and what they impact. And I can't tell if it impacts our ships or the ships that we're building, because I haven't been able to see any noticeable changes yet for these perks. So I think it might actually apply to our own ship, and these will be bonuses on top of our current perks. Now, I could be wrong. Someone will correct this in the comments and I'll pin that. But just know you can get some other extra upgrades that will do some cool stuff, and other upgrades will unlock more parts that you can build with, to put simply. But I just wanted to hammer that down a little bit, just because at the start when I first jumped in, I found that a little bit confusing, and this way you can just jump in and have a great understanding of what's going on. So now that we understand that we can get the quest from the mission board, we build it, we get salvage and cash, then we can spend that salvage to then unlock more parts or increase some perks or abilities relating to ships. Now we can go out into the universe and then try find them. Now keep in mind, there is a bit of difficulty around finding them, as it is competing with spawning with the multitude of other ships and stuff that happens in space. And on top of that, if you're wanting the ship to spawn as an enemy ship, say like Crimson faction, that only has a 25% chance of spawning on top of the already difficult to get your ship to spawn. So just do know, the more you build these, the more likely you're going to find your own version of the ships out in the universe. But if you build a few of them, it's going to be a bit hard to run into them, at least in my testing. So that kind of gives you a really good sort of overview of how this mod will work. And there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things to consider, and it can be quite a difficult where you can get stuck in these because you're not the appropriate level and you don't have access to some of the parts because they're not unlocked. And there's a lot of little things that will need tweaking and fixing over time, because there's so much involved with this mod, but it's absolutely phenomenal. Who would have thought by now you could already build a ship and have it as an AI ship floating in the universe? I think it's unreal. Best mod for sure of 2023. Now we're just going to dive into some of the issues people will find. Now the most common and biggest issues people are having is that they install the mod using one of the mod managers and they can't find Aria. Aria doesn't spawn. Now in the actual Astroneer mod itself, there are some workarounds on this, so try those. But also, you cannot get Aria to spawn. Here are some of the tips that have been mentioned in the comments. People have shut down their game, reloaded in, and Aria appeared. Some people have flown to different universes, come back, and she's appeared. Other people have had to go to NG+, and that fixed it. But there are a few little complications there. And the other thing that's really important to note is, if you want this to be an enjoyable mod, you're going to have to probably disable other mods or potentially put them in different hierarchy of load orders. So for me, for instance, it was imperative that I disabled the unlimited shipyard, which will give me access to every single part in the game at any technician. So if I have that on, I can go to Aria and have access to every single component, which kind of defeats the purpose of getting salvage to then build better ships. And this will also mean things that have like no reactor limits, no landing gear limit. So it might be more fun or more immersive if you do want to disable certain mods that give you more freedom for building. But I found, for me personally, just disabling unlimited shipyard unlocked was more than enough, as I was restricted on parts and would force me to create, some unusual ships because of some of the unusual requests that you get. But do keep in mind, there are a lot of conflicts that are potentially happening with this mod. So if you're ever in doubt, you could just go through the process of trying to enable and disable certain mods that might impact shipbuilding to then get the best experience. The other thing to note is, since the mod is still in early days, you might get a request to build a shield that has 1600 health, and that'd be the Assurance SG 1800 shield generator, which will have a level unlock of 27. So most people have access to that. But say something else might request you to build a certain type of thing, but you might not have access to that due to your levels, and that may impact some of the user experience. And this is just based off some of the comments. So if you're having trouble not seeing some of the different items in the menu, it might be level related, but you might need to level up a bit more to unlock these components. But if you're someone like me who's already way past level 60, you're going to have really no problems there in terms of what you can build. There is another common thing you'll find in the ship builder too, where you'll get an error saying your shipware will say all the parts need to be above the landing gear or something. All you need to do in that case is just double click on your ship, move it quickly and move it back to where it was, and it will just reset that error to get rid of it. Don't know why that does it, but yeah, just something to note. Otherwise, installing this mod is super simple. Just use your mod managers and just follow the steps on the mod page, and make sure you do read all of it, get a good understanding, everything that's happening here. Watch the video and you're going to have a blast. This adds so much fun and potential to this game already. And especially if you haven't explored shipbuilding, this is definitely a really good, encouraging way to get you involved. And working up and getting these research items actually takes a shit ton of shipbuilding. So something you could do over weeks. Some people smash it over a couple of days. I don't know how. They would have just been going flat out, pumping out so many ships. But hey, it's so much fun and it's a really cool mod. We have to definitely vote this mod to be the mod of the week or the mod of the year, because hands down, I think this is probably one of the better mods in this particular category, in the gameplay category. But I hope this has provided some insight and understanding to how this kind of works and what it is, and it's crystal clear. But with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. If you did get anything out of this, please consider liking, subscribing. It really does help. Thanks so much. Peace.